All right, so today we're diving into one of the most profound conversations ever recorded, and it comes from chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. It's basically a masterclass in how to handle a crisis, and it all kicks off with this legendary hero who's just completely falling apart.
So picture this. You're on a massive battlefield, but the real war, well, that's happening inside the mind of this incredible warrior, Arjuna. He's having a total moral breakdown. He just completely surrenders to his guide, Krishna, and his plea is so simple, so desperate. He just says, "Tell me what to do. What is the right path?" He's completely lost and just needs a guide.
So, let's talk about this hero's moral crisis. I mean, what could possibly bring a celebrated hero, the best of the best, to this breaking point? Well, the scene is set for this huge civil war, and Arjuna, who's like the greatest archer of his time, is supposed to be fighting for his kingdom. But then he looks across the battlefield, and he doesn't see enemies. He sees his family, his teachers, his cousins, his grandfather, everyone. And just like that, his resolve completely crumbles. He's just overcome with grief, and he turns to Krishna and asks, "How can I possibly fire arrows at Bhishma and Drona? I mean, these are the people he loves, the people he respects more than anyone. The very thought of fighting them is just too much to handle."
And his reasoning, it makes sense from his point of view. He's basically saying that any victory would be completely tainted, it would be meaningless. He thinks it's better to live as a beggar than to enjoy any kind of pleasure that's, and I quote, "stained with blood." The idea of ruling a kingdom just isn't worth the pain of losing his family.
And that's it. He just gives up, totally overwhelmed, totally confused. He literally puts down his weapons, sinks down in his chariot, and just tells Krishna flat out, "I will not fight." This is his rock bottom. He's no longer a warrior in this moment. He's a student desperately looking for answers from his guide.
Okay, so this brings us to Krishna's teaching on the eternal soul. And you gotta ask, how does Krishna respond to this complete breakdown? Well, it's not with a pep talk. It's not with some clever battle strategy. Nope. He goes way, way deeper. He starts with a lesson on the fundamental nature of reality itself.
Krishna starts with this, gentle but really firm correction. He basically tells Arjuna, you're saying a lot of wise-sounding things, but you're mourning for stuff that the truly wise don't mourn for. It's like he's saying, look, your heart is in the right place, I get it, but your whole perspective is clouded right now.
So to cut through all that confusion, Krishna introduces this absolutely central idea, the concept of the Atma, or the soul. And he explains that this is your real self, your true identity, and it is completely, fundamentally different from the physical body that it's living in. And he draws this really sharp line in the sand. Look at the body. It's perishable. It goes through youth, old age, and eventually it's gone. But the soul, the Atma, that's eternal. It doesn't change. It can't be destroyed. And really getting this concept is the first major step out of Arjuna's despair.
And then Krishna uses this brilliant, super simple analogy to make it crystal clear. He says the body is just like a set of clothes. Think about it. When your clothes get old and worn out, you just discard them and put on new ones, right? Well, that's what the soul does. It leaves an old body and simply enters a new one. Suddenly, death isn't this terrifying final end, it's just a change.
So here's the bottom line, the crucial point. The soul is literally invincible. Weapons can't cut it, fire can't burn it, water can't wet it, and the wind can't dry it. No physical harm can ever touch the true self. And that means Arjuna's grief over the idea of killing his relatives, well, it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who and what they really are.
All right, so now we're moving on to the call to duty. After laying this pretty heavy metaphysical groundwork, Krishna brings the whole conversation right back down to earth. He pivots from the eternal nature of the soul to Arjuna's very practical, very real role in the world right now.
And he does this by reminding Arjuna of his dharma. Now, dharma isn't just your job or your career. It's so much more. It's your sacred purpose, your righteous place in the grand scheme of things. And for Arjuna, who's a kshatriya, a warrior, his dharma is to fight in a righteous war to protect justice. And Krishna makes it very clear, this is a righteous war.
And the consequences of walking away from that duty? Well, Krishna lays them out, and they are stark. He warns Arjuna that he won't just be sinning, he'll face total dishonor. People will talk about his cowardice forever. And for a legendary, honored warrior like Arjuna, that kind of shame is a fate literally worse than death.
So from this perspective, from the perspective of dharma, it's actually a win-win situation. Krishna says, look, either you'll die in battle and go to heaven, or you'll win and get to enjoy your kingdom on earth. Pretty straightforward, right? The only real way to lose here is to not fight at all.
And this, right here, brings us to the real philosophical core of the entire chapter: action without attachment. This is a truly revolutionary way to think about action itself. And honestly, this is the part where Krishna gives a tool that isn't just for Arjuna on a battlefield, it's for every single one of us.
This might just be the single most famous verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita. And for good reason. It holds the key to acting with freedom and power. Krishna's instruction is radical. You have a right to your work, to the action itself, but you have no right to the fruits of your work. You have to let go of any attachment to the result.
This whole approach has a name: Karma Yoga. You can think of it as the yoga of action. It's this incredible art of doing your duty with 100% dedication and skill, but, and this is the crucial part, without being attached to the outcome. You stay totally balanced, whether you win or you lose.
So you can really break it down into a kind of three-step mental discipline. First, you act with purpose, with resolve. Second, you completely renounce your attachment to a specific result. And third, because of that, you can stay totally even-minded, totally balanced in both success and failure. That, Krishna says, is the real secret to skillful action.
All right, so now we get to the mind of a sage. It's a great question, right? What is a person who has actually mastered this? What do they even look like? How do they act in the real world? And Arjuna, being the practical guy he is, asks that exact question. He basically asks, what are the signs of a person with steady wisdom? How do they talk? How do they sit? How do they move? He wants to know the real, tangible characteristics. You know, how would he recognize this enlightened state in somebody else? Or maybe, just maybe, in himself one day. And Krishna's description is just beautiful. He talks about a person of incredible inner stability, asthita prajna. This is someone who has given up all the selfish desires of the mind. Their satisfaction comes from within themselves, by themselves. It doesn't depend on what's happening outside. So their mind isn't troubled by sorrow, they don't crave pleasure, they're free from fear and anger, they are the masters of their own inner universe.
And then he gives this amazing image to cap it all off. He says this person of steady wisdom can withdraw their senses from sense objects, just like a tortoise pulls its head and limbs into its shell. What a perfect metaphor, right? It's all about having complete control, complete mastery over your mind and your senses.
So all of these teachings from Chapter 2 really leave us with a very powerful question to think about for our own lives. In our own moments of crisis, how can we learn to separate our duty, the right thing to do, from our personal desire for a specific outcome? It's amazing how this ancient conversation on a battlefield becomes this incredibly practical tool for navigating our own battles, big and small, today.